Good morning, good people. We are back with another edition of the program. Saturday, October 9th, 2021. This is Spade of Spade Podcast. Another edition of the program. Got a special guest in the building, Mr. Ed. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, guys. How you guys doing this
Doing
well. Pretty good. So Scoop, go ahead and introduce Mr. Ed to everybody.
In the past episode, couple episodes back, we was talking about a village and how a village is important into raising a kid. You know what I'm saying? It don't have to be just have be a family member. And this man right here was part of my village. He was a main part of my village when I was younger. When I went to the YMCA, he was the counselor there, and he helped me out a lot. He was kind of my pops away from home. So I just want to give him his flowers and his due diligence. This is Mr. Ed. Introduce yourself, brother.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Ed, Cordell called me Ed Robinson. I'm working for the YMCA about 28 years. Cordell's, he was an inspiration to me as well, you know, coming up as, I didn't have a dad in my life. So giving back to the Y was one of the things that I did. And he kept me busy, but, I kept him on task. And it's a pleasure to be here with him today and, and his mom. And, I know when he lost his dad, it took a lot away from him, but he always had a home at the Y, and it was we always had the doors open for him. So, and every time we could do what we could do, we did it. And it was a great pleasure doing that.
And I appreciate you. Mama Live, she said, "Hi, Mr. Ed."
Hey.
I appreciate it too. When I came back when I was older, maybe in high school, to come back in the YMCA, and I found it out, rest in peace to Teeny Weenie, that your daughter passed away. And then when we consoled each other, you know what I'm saying, and you always showed love. Even when I saw you at my job, you always showed love. So I just want to had you come on this platform and let people know that people who do jobs like this and take it serious, they deserve their flowers.
Right.
Who impact people's lives, especially young lives.
Right.
Counselors, teachers, you know what I'm saying? They deserve their flowers. So that's why you here, Mr. Ed.
I appreciate it.
I think you deserve that. The Vanessas, the Miss Kings, the Miss Tanya Fullers of the world, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They deserve their flowers too. Because they get a lot of stress. It's a stressful job, but they do it, and they put their heart into it, and you can tell. And they do outside of what they're supposed to do. They don't do the minimum.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I will forever have love for y'all. I will forever have love for the YMCA, and I appreciate y'all for doing that.
I can't say it any better, man. People such as yourself, Mr. Ed, really, especially in our modern day and age, truly is the backbone of our community, because we got so many different kids who come from all different types of backgrounds. Broken homes, single parents, parents are drug addicts or felons. One is alive, one is not alive, both are not alive. Even kids who come from good families, they seem to somehow end up going down the wrong path. And counselors such as yourself, coaches, teachers who do the job not just to collect a paycheck, but just for the love of the children. And this is what our show center around, is us bringing the love back into the community that we seem to have just strayed away from. So give us a brief synopsis of why you went the route you did.
Sure. Well, first of all, like I said, I explained, I didn't have a dad in my life, and I was raised by 3 strong women, first of all. And it was always something that needed to be done, and by me being the man of the house, I had to take charge. So growing up, I did things I I shouldn't have done in the past, you know, just to get by and make ends meet. And then one day a door opened up for me. DC Public Schools, which I started working with mentally challenged kids, first of all. And when that contract folded, the Y, a great friend of mine is Mr. Fitchett. Cordell know him too. He was the bus driver.
Shout out to Mr. Fitchett, man.
That's right, Mr. Fitchett.
Shout out to Mr. Fitchett and Mr. Skinner.
And Mr. Skinner. Mr. Fitchett gave me a phone call because we worked at DC Public Schools together.
Yeah.
He said, Mr. Ed, I think I might got a job for you. So it was the Y. I took on that position and that Y and seeing the kids, man, once I got my foot in, you know, I got so comfortable. And I said, and God just came to say, this is where you should be. This is your calling, you know, working with these kids. And from there on, man, I just loved it. You know, and anything, it wasn't a task that we couldn't tackle because we all worked together as a team. Me, Miss King, Miss Vanessa, Miss Tanya, Mr. Fitchett. You know, we had those doors open at, 6 o'clock, sometimes 6:30. We all did this. We did every job it was we could do.
Because I was there at 6.
And, you know, and it was just great. It was just good giving, you know, just seeing that we could help and we made a difference. You know, so, and we still do it. So, you know, I wouldn't give it up for nothing in the world. You know, so.
Man, even because the reason why you really do mean too much, so much to me, because before I went to the YMCA, I went to I'm gonna put it out there. I went to a daycare called Scooby's down in the city.
Okay.
Now we was really we was in the middle of the hood. And when I tell you, I used to get whooped. I mean, bullied, and then the counselors didn't really care. Then one of the counselors that was they kind of knew my family and had a vendetta against them, was abusing my sister. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So we was in a bad predicament as far as daycares, and I was like, I ain't trying to go to no daycare and none of that. And then when I went to the YMCA, it was cool, but it wasn't until Mr. Ed got there when I was like, I love this place. It's kind of like, you know, I was BC, before Christ, then, you know, after the death. It was kind of like before Mr. Ed, and then when Mr. Ed came, two totally different YMCAs. I mean, from the block parties we used to have to Mr. Ed's store. He ain't had to do that. He knew we was eating carrots and water and juice and cake. Ain't nobody want this. Ain't nobody wanted that, man. I'm like, come on. So what he did was he got a little store. It was basically the ice cream truck store in the YMCA. Yeah. And I don't understand. I don't think you understand how big that was. Yeah, I did. That was, man. And then if he was good, he you ain't got to pay for it.
Right.
So it gave you extra motivation. Okay. And if you was bad and you had money, you still couldn't do it because you was bad. Right. See, he was teaching lessons. You know what I'm saying? He look, this is a privilege. Right. This ain't no right. Mr. Ed store ain't no right. This is a privilege. I don't care how much money in your pocket. If you was acting up, Cordell, you ain't getting nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? He kept it real raw like that. You know what I'm saying? And then little things, you know what I'm saying? We kids, you know what I'm saying? So we getting picked up, you know what I'm saying? He entertainment and driving. He stopping it, you know what I'm stopping the bus, you know what I'm saying? Letting it go. We going off the bumps. You know what I'm saying? Little shit, you know, little stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? That's why Mr. Ed was so legendary, you know what I'm saying? Man, go ahead.
Do you, Scoop, do you think, now looking back at those early life lessons that Mr. Ed was teaching you and the other kids, do you think you will be who you are today without that experience?
Nah, not even just me. People that I know, the Brandys, the Travises, you know what I'm saying? We would not be, we still talk about Mr. Ed to this day. Right. You know, and I told him he was coming on the show. He said, you got Mr. Ed on the show? I said, yes, I got Mr. Ed on the show. Because first thing, he confirmed a lot of things that my dad was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said before, when you hear it from a parent, sometimes it's kind of nagging.
It's like man,
yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then he keep it a being with you just like that. You know, the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, this is real. You know what I'm saying? Not like I didn't listen to my dad, but just certain things,
right.
I'd be like, whatever. But then when he is saying, I'd be like, he's telling the truth. You know what I'm saying? He telling the truth, he reaffirming. And a lot of things, me handling situations. Like Mr. Ed would never like let a situation settle. Like even when we had our differences, and I was like, man, my dad gonna beat your ass. Like, I'm like, what? And he was like, man, let's talk about it. And we talked about it. Like the reason why I'm so upfront about things, he's a part of it because let's keep it out, let's push it out in the open and let's talk about it. Even if we got a disagreement, I might disagree with you, you might disagree with me, but we gonna fix this. You know what I'm saying? And he was a big part of that. He was a big part of me, like how I am now with Lil Youngest, you know, telling them stuff that I wasn't told or
right.
somebody else ain't tell me because of him.
Right.
Because he did that. You know what I'm saying? And I will forever be grateful to him. It's not just me. It's endless people that I see for the YMCA. And one of the first things we talk about is Mr. Ed when we look back at that. Mm-hmm. Because what he did, the sleepovers. You know what I'm saying? We going to Chuck E. Cheese. We go, you know what I'm saying? When the sleepovers, he making sure we all eat.
Right.
Going to McDonald's. What you want? Ooh, what? Cheeseburger? No cheese. Chicken. Chicken nugget. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, so I wouldn't.
And you know, and speaking, you know, because we all men, right? So conversations like that, right? When you haven't, because we all know, right? When there's an issue today, what do people resort to, right? They resort to picking up guns, shooting each other, right? Mm-hmm. Violence.
I'm glad you're bringing this up. Go ahead.
Conversations like that, as men, we used to have that. Mm-hmm. Like before me and you was around Mr. Ed, you know, before me and you was around Scoop, you know, our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, when there was an issue as men, they sat down at a table and talked it out. Gave the youngest some game, like, look, whatever you thinking or whatever you want to do, that's the path you do not want to go down. Right. And when an OG, right, was talking to a youngin', they might not have respected or liked what was said at that time, but they followed it because it was for their best interest. Mm-hmm. Today, you know, these youngins, matter of fact, they're not even going to listen. They're going to be disrespectful. They're going to be like, oh, man, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
9 times out of 10, he knows what he's talking about because he's experienced it, he's lived it, he's seen it. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't want to see another black man go into the system that's just trying to circulate people into the system and not have any or a lot of programs for us to succeed when we come out. It's just to get a body into a cell and that's money into a warden's pocket. You know, so this is part of the reason why we have you on the show is because we want everybody to understand that we need to get back to having those community leaders, having these conversations with kids who are troubled, who have a hard upbringing, and have them understand and believe that, you know, I may come from a broken home, but there's a path for me that doesn't have to involve drugs or guns or gangs or going into prison just because you want to prove you tough to somebody that really don't know you or care about you.
That's right.
You know, so what's your thoughts on that, Mr. Ed?
Well, technically, you hit the nail on the head. I think as black men and young black men, and we definitely need to try to get these youngsters out, you know, into environment where they're in a comfort zone and take them out of their action zone. Because these days now it's so easy to get yourself in trouble and not even realizing you're in trouble so quick. And before you notice it, your whole life is just gone. You know, and that's why I'm always going to be a pillar and a advocate for the YMCA, the boys clubs, church. You know, I'm very active in church right now too. I work with the youth, and that's another place. I mean, we got to really start getting these kids to try to see Christ too as well. You know, because it's easy to get in trouble, but it's hard to get out of it once. And then the system is set up nowadays where as though if you're a young black man, you're already, that's one strike. Secondly, there's no jobs. I mean, you don't have, you're out there doing things where as though you feel as though you have to do it. Then third, but last but not least, no fathers in the homes. And the parenting is these days, you got kids being mothers and fathers. You got 22 and 30-year-old grandmothers. You know, they kids having kids. So you know, and there's no guidance. So when you get to that, when you get to around people like that, the only thing you can try to do is reach out and keep reaching out. Just don't ever give up. Just continue reaching. And if you know anybody that needs help, I mean, you know, it's plenty places you can go. Go to Christ first. Go to the YMCA's. Go to the Boys and Girls Clubs. Go to anywhere, shelters, anywhere. Use all the hotlines you can and offer the help. Because I run into kids all the time in the neighborhoods where I grew up at. I grew up in Brentwood over in Northeast, and I see a lot of the kids over there. And these kids were like grandkids of my friends. And then a lot of these guys, a lot of their fathers or grandfathers not even around anymore. And they out there doing the same thing that they were doing. And it's constantly if you don't put a stop to it or offer help, because, you know, sometimes people won't accept nothing until it's offered to them. And you know that, and then they're like, just like my pastor, he's saying a lot in the church. He's saying as we grow into church, you have to really advance and jump out there on faith. You know, I mean, sometimes you could be in it. There's no need of being in holding up a seat if you're not going to participate or help. So, because some stories, the best stories are the untold stories or the unheard. Right. And sometimes when those kids come through those doors at the Y, like Miss King always put this in my head. She said, Mr. A, you never know what a kid is going through when they come through the Y, but you can always tell before and when they get ready to leave the Y. A lot of them, they never want to leave. They come to the Y, and I said, well, you're right, King, because they probably got a lot going home to. And, you know, we started talking to them and asked them, and they felt like they could open up to them, just like Cordell said. Cordell used to listen, and I used to see him. You know, he used to be mad at his mother and father sometimes, and I could talk right to him, and he'd cling right in. He was like, you know, Mr. A, yeah, you right, you know. And I could time him in. And Mr. Fitcher was the same way with him. So, and Miss King. You know, so it was just like he said, it takes a village to raise a kid. You know, it takes a village to raise. And, you know, and it's like some people can get to you and pretty much see where you're coming from, understand. Understanding is another thing. You got to really understand and listen. Listen to these kids because, you know, a lot of them don't, you know, they don't have nothing. Nothing. And if they don't have nothing to look forward to, that's why the jails is filled up with them.
All right.
You know, and they'll continue doing that.
Yeah, and that's a big part of why I have my nephew. I listen to my nephew because he, like people like him, they listen to me, and that's what I thought. Like when I was a kid, that my parents and my family lacked. They didn't listen to me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really have a voice. You know what I'm saying? And he let me have a voice. So when my nephew talk, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to you. You know what I'm saying? Because you have thoughts too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of like parents, they like to shut the kid voice down. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like a kid can't have no wisdom. You know what I'm saying? Like they can't have their own thoughts or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Not saying to totally listen to a kid, but I'm saying let them have a voice though.
All right.
Let them have their opinion, and then you would tell them, what's wrong about that or what's right about that. But it's a way to say it and a way to go about things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I do with my nephew, because he did that to me. You know what I'm saying? And I want that because it gave me a chance to express myself, but then also like, okay, there's nothing wrong for you expressing yourself, but this is where you went wrong at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So he did that for me. And then like Mr. Ed kept it real. Like he was like, look, y'all really trying to do this? Y'all really fight? Y'all really trying? Let's go into this library real quick. We gonna go in this library, close the door, there's nothing but us. Go ahead, get your frustrations out. Go ahead, get your frustrations out.
Yeah.
And then after this, all right, it's over. That's it. We know what happened. Us and God know.
Yeah.
Fix ourselves.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, you know what it is, it's, kid, like I said, at the end of the day, the kids need to be heard. But, I'll say 2/3 of the kids that's in these programs now are motherless, fatherless, brotherless, and you have that 1/3, and that was your mom, people like your mom and your dad that was there, and sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy raising a kid sometimes when you're dealing with, because Cordell, I think you was the youngest and you was the last one at home, and you were more like they wanted the best. They did the best. They gave you the best, and sometimes kids have a tendency to don't realize that. Because I have a daughter, and I lost my daughter, Teeny Weenie, 11 years old. She went to the Y, and I gave her the world. But sometimes you feel like you couldn't give them too much. You couldn't. It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough.
It seemed like it feel like it wasn't enough. But at the end of the day, you don't realize it until it's gone. Just like I know you didn't realize what you had with your dad till it was gone. And and that's why I can mimic everything that you say, and I could hear his voice when he used to talk. He had a talk with you every morning. It wasn't bad. It wasn't always bad. It was just something to tell you, son, I want you to do this, to have a good day. And them was some of his last words leaving out that door. And if he did, he said, if you don't, Mr. A, you got him, you can call me or whatever. This, that, how you do. And that's how it was.
Yeah.
But he always made sure Cordell and his mom always would before they leave out that door, to make sure to tell them, you have a good day today. A lot of kids didn't have that. The kids look at that and they were like, wow, Cordell, your dad tell you. And I could see it because I was working at the Y. So that's what we played our roles as, the mothers and the fathers. So you're going to have a good day too today. And this and that. And this
Right.
Because you never know what's in a kid's mind.
Right.
And then those the same kids that they envy, they can be envious. Kids can be envious at any age.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Any age.
Yeah.
And you don't even really know it.
Right.
And they can trick you. And they not saying kids are never bad. Kids are just kids.
Right.
It's no bad kids. It's no bad kids. It's something Miss King always instilled us. Don't ever say that them kids are bad or whatever. And we don't do that. We just have to deal with them. And then you have to give them the same love that they losing, because we used to mimic off your mom and father, because we used to have to take lessons. I learned from your dad a lot, whether you knew that or not. Just listening to him talk to you sometimes. And I said, I'm going to use this too when I go talk to this kid, because I ain't have to use it on you because you always was hearing it every day. So, and that's, you pass it on and pass it on. And I got to a lot of those kids. You wasn't the only one. There was a lot of kids there, man. And I can call names out, man, and from ever, and that didn't make it as far as you, and I've seen quite a few of them, and I've seen some is just shining like gold, like dirt, and all of them, man, them guys are doing real well, man, and I tip my hat to y'all too, because y'all were there for one another too, because y'all inspire each other when they see or they hear about Cordell doing this, Derek doing this, Sherry doing this, and this. They be like, yeah, because they hear it through us. They say, wow, we would have never did certain things if we wouldn't have came to the Y. It wasn't just all us, it was you guys too, and your parents taking the time to allow us to do that. So we got to give some of the credit to some of the parents as well, your dad was one of them too. He was a great guy, man. So, but like I said, I wouldn't change nothing in the world if I could do it the same. It'll still be the same. It's like you said when I say, well, go ahead, get it on. We go on trips. They had disagreements. Do what you gotta do. But we're gonna keep right. It wasn't no real violence and nothing. Just let them get it off amongst themselves. And after that, we'll go on to a trip or so, right, Cordell?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And Mr. A, you talked about and we talked about this, Scoop, passing stuff down, right? Us black folks, we've come to be pretty selfish with passing stuff down from generation to generation, and it don't even have to deal with wealth or money,
Right.
Just knowledge, like family structure.
Anything beneficial that you
Yeah.
have,
Right.
in your soul, in
Yeah.
your mind, give that back to the world. You know what I'm saying? That's
Because
what you're supposed to do.
that keeps things revolving, especially if it's positive. Something you always want to pass something that's positive to the next person. Well, because you can't take it with you. You can take it with you, but if you got something, if you know something that I need to know, and I think this is going to help this brother right here, please give it to me. And that's what you do. And that's what we do. We say, well, just like I said with your dad. Your dad used to, I used to just hear him talk to you. I was like, yeah, See, I didn't have a son. My son was much younger than you was. Well, at the time, y'all was teeny weeny nickel. He came later, but he was always like with his mom a lot. So I didn't really get that chance to really raise him after me and my wife divorced. So it was just like an in and out thing. So hit or miss, but I had teeny weeny. So I used to take notes from him as a dad. I was like, yeah, because sometimes me and Nick didn't always, see eye to eye. We used to bump heads a lot, but by him being around his mom a lot, so it was just like I had to persuade this, persuade that, so to get him on the right stage too, so, and just to say that, just to like, with him out even not even knowing it, that he was giving me knowledge of how to raise my son in so many words, that I would take it off to one of those kids who was less fortunate than you in the program that I knew. And sometimes that all they want to do is hear something that's so a person to show that they just care. That's all. If a kid know you even care a little bit, that could change their whole world. And that's what it did a lot for the kids at the Y. Yeah. They had, when they came in that door from 6 to 6:30, they knew they was loved, man. They knew they was gonna be okay, and their parents knew that, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have brought them there.
Right.
And that's the record we kept, and passing stuff on, and we still do that today. We pass character counts, caring, loving, honesty, respect, and responsibility. That's what it's about.
Yes, sir. Especially with kids that had both parents, and like I did. The thing that I really cherished was the fact that, because I didn't have me and my brother relationship was non-existent back then. Then my sister was older, so I didn't have nobody for real that I can call as friend or a sibling, or really had somebody to really ask. So I was like the baby. So it was I was with my parents.
Right.
So when I went to the YMCA, it gave me, some of my best friends at the time, was there. And then with Mr. Ed, at the time, I bonded with him more than most of my uncles. You know what I'm saying? So even though I did have both parents, I needed that. Still needed that, because they worked a lot. Wow. Even if they had trusted me to be by my house, I was going to be at that age by myself.
In your thoughts.
In my thoughts. You know what I'm saying? No extra guidance, no nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm so glad that they was able to do that. They able to put me in that. And then I just happened to be at the Kyler Maris one where Mr. Ed was at. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's a blessing. Anybody that you talk to that went through there, they tell you the same thing. And the knowledge, the time, you know what I'm saying? When I tell you, when Mr. Ed went to come see me at he ain't come see me, he went to go eat and saw that I worked there. I tell you, maybe not even a week. Not even a week went past. Vanessa was right there. Came through. I was like, I know this not who I think it is. She was like, Mr. Ed said you was working. I had to come up here. What? For real, man. For real. Like, I really appreciate y'all. I really appreciate people like that, period. Because when I was in Duval, I had somebody like Mr. Ed. His name was Raverly Carter. He was just like Mr. Ed, but in high school, right when my dad passed away. You know what I'm saying? And then, like, I was able to, because at first I was like, I don't want to hear nothing. But him, what he did, I was like, he's him. They the same dudes. Listen, they the same dudes. I was mad that he left after my freshman year. You know what I'm saying? But I was able to have him round me in because of him. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would allow him to do that.
Right.
And I don't know what my head would have been at. You know what I'm saying? Because I was so tore up.
That is why it is so important for kids at a very, very young age to have positive role models, mentors, people that they can look up to. Because as a young kid, you're soaking up all this different stuff, good, bad, ugly, whatever, right? And the fact that you were exposed to it at a young age, and when you got to high school, and Pops left, and then your other mentor had left, you were still able to channel back on the experience with Mr. Ed, which helped you get to where you are now. And if it wasn't for that experience with Mr. Ed, bro, I don't know where you would be.
Exactly. That's why when you asked me that question, I said, I don't know.
Right.
For real. And just people out there, period, that do it. You know, they do their job and go the extra beyond that impacts life. You know what I'm saying? If it comes to trash or you dealing with somebody's food,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even how small you are, you doing that, you still impacting somebody's life. Just do your job. Just do your job. The mail lady. You know what I'm saying? People who are supposed to send you important documents from the court. Do your job.
That's right.
Do your job. You impacting people's lives. Now my driver license suspended because you was late on sending me my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it pisses me off, especially maintenance men at the apartment complex. Bro, why are you coming in the house without knocking on the door?
Yeah.
Bro, if I had a gun, it's over. I'm coming out the room on BS because I'm like, who is in my house? Or you not fixing things right. The whole cabinet fell off the wall, Vic. The wall. My phone died. I'll show you the video after. Off the wall.
Off the wall, Cordell.
Well, calm down. Ain't no calm down. My mom was in the kitchen, then what?
Yeah.
There's a dude at my complex. His name is Damien. Go ahead. Just go ahead. I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go on a tangent. I'm gonna go on a tangent.
I know.
Do your job.
Yeah.
Do what you're supposed to do. Go ahead.
No matter what your job is, you know, how much money you make or whatever. I feel like any job you do, regardless of what it is, whether it's blue collar or white collar, you're providing a service.
You take pride in it.
Take pride in it. You're providing service to someone out there, whether it's direct or indirect.
That's right.
And just talking about our people, I think, because Mr. A, you probably oftentimes hear this, you know, when it comes, you know, to the different various programs we have at our disposal to utilize as a community. Oh, well, I don't need that, or I don't know where to find these programs. And you know, like I stated earlier, this is part of the reason why we have you here, is for people to understand that you have these things at your disposal. Yeah. Utilize it, right?
Exactly.
You
that was
can't.
A bad excuse before Google. Go ahead.
You can't raise a child by yourself, right? Because, you know, like you stated, there's been kids who have both parents who brought their kids to you guys, right? It truly does take a village, but it's up to individual parents to put their pride aside and stop.
Let the village.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let the village work. Because the village is there for you. It's at your convenience. If you and sometimes you just have to apply yourself. If you don't apply yourself, that's just like you can go everywhere else and get free subsidies, food stamps,
right,
checks,
right,
this and that. If you have a kid that needs help, there's plenty of help out there. If you need it, if you have kids that need child care, it's millions of programs out there that people can, you know, look into. And the way with the pandemic going on now, it's so much out there. You just have to go out there and search for jobs. There's jobs out there that hasn't been out there for years. You know, and unfortunately we have a shortage on certain things that we really need help with bus drivers everywhere, you know, to get these kids back and forth to school. Not just in D.C. We have in Maryland, Virginia, all over. And it's sad, you know, we have programs running and we just can't get the transportation to get the kids to the programs. And this has never happened. This is like the first I've heard of this all over.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got some branches have to close their programs because they don't have the transportation. Wow. Who's gonna suffer? Kids,
right?
Because where's gonna push the kids at?
In the streets.
Because where's gonna take the streets to the jail? Right. If it ain't jail, kill. Wow. So you know it's a round robin.
It's a cycle because
I just a small aspect of that can affect that much.
Yeah.
Right. Because I heard and this is the first time that I heard this on the news. A couple of weeks ago, they had like a big report about there's a shortage of bus drivers across the area. Yeah. And you know, like you said, Mr. Ed, it's DC, Maryland, and Virginia, right? Wow. So
that made me feel bad and I want to be a bus driver.
So these counties and these areas, like, we have the capability of getting more bus drivers. The problem is, how far are you willing to go to get those drivers to help predominantly who? Black kids, right? I mean, because it can be done. It can be done, but
it can be done.
The question that has to be answered is
exactly
right.
What it goes? What are you gonna do to make this person want to drive this bus? Are you gonna go over? You're just gonna stay right here where we started 2 years ago. When there's jobs open, because a lot of people taking jobs that's paying more money, and which is understandable. CDL drivers at a minimum, they can go anywhere and get between $20 to $25 an hour. That's minimum. So if you're at a place somewhere where a job is paying you 16, 17, 18, and they know they can go to Metro and get 25. They just going to drive.
Exactly.
They're not going to deal with kids. They're not going to do this. They're just going to drive. They're going to take that Metro job.
Right.
You know, but there are stipulations with Metro opposing to D.C. public schools, Maryland County, this and that, because they're giving you incentives because if you have a driver's license, they're willing to train you to get a CDL. You know, so that's another incentive that they will give you, but they'll put you in a contract and hold you for 2-3 years. A lot of people don't want to be locked down because when that money comes, they say, well, I'll be in a year, so let me go Metro say, well, I'll give you 30.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got to void the contract. But once again, there you go. Who gets shortchanged? The kids again.
Exactly.
This driver, he quit. So we ain't gonna go to school. So we go to virtual learning. We go to school a half a day. And after a while, they lose interest in schools. So they figure like, with the mother and father, they working every day. If they working,
right,
then you sitting around the house all day eating up food, bills going up. You gonna have to go out here and get a job or something. So that's putting something in their head, you know, that they really should be doing. With my mom said, I gotta go do. Then they go out in the streets doing stuff they ain't got no business doing. The next thing you know, they gotta suffer the consequences because they got caught up on the humble doing something that the mother told them to go out there and get a job because X, Y, Z, this and that. It's just so many avenues that's opens when kids are not in school and can't do things, man. It's just and then not just the kids, I mean young men, period, you know, when they can't get jobs because they don't have the high school diploma because they couldn't go to school because the buses wouldn't take them to school and they ain't have enough dropouts. All that goes up, but it's in our neighborhoods.
right.
It's in our communities. But see, the system sometimes is made up like that, you know, it's not, and I'm not going to say it's nobody's fault. It's just if you don't apply yourself, if you don't take advantage of these opportunities that you have that's right in front of you, it happens. Because I'm not racist, prejudiced, or nothing, but I can tell you, Hispanics and Latinos, they're going to take a job. They're going to take it and they're going to run with it. And they're going to do it, even if they do a shortcut. But they're going to bring their people in and they're going to stick together. With us, man, I ain't doing that. I don't want to do that, this and that. They ain't going to pay me. And then we complain later.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Ed, because let's use our Hispanic brothers and sisters as an example real quick. So they take a job that may pay $15, $16 an hour. You know why? Because there's like 8 to 10 of them in one house.
Exactly.
As a family.
As a family.
Us, you know what we do? Oh, I'm 18 years old. I don't gotta listen to you no more. I'm gonna go do my own thing, have my own place. Yeah. I want to be independent.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're financially responsible for all that comes with having your own.
Exactly.
Which is fine if you can afford it, but if you can't, stay where you at.
Right. Exactly.
You know, stack your money, do it together as a family. But a lot of times, you know, eating like, you know, us black folks, you know,
that's that toxic pride.
Right. We'll push our kids out there like, okay, once you're 18, get out of my house. But do they have a plan? Are they financially in a position to be on their own and take care of themselves and they're able to sustain themselves? Because if they're not, they should be at home.
Yeah. But you know, not all parents do it that.
Right.
It's, you have some, you know, depending on how the kid is, you know, because sometimes your kid can get to a point where they don't want to listen, you know, and it can be disrespectful.
Right.
And you're going to put your foot down as a parent, because if you allow it, then you're creating more problems for yourself. So if they come to you in that position where as though, well, I'm 18 and I'm paying all these bills, I'm feeding you, I'm clothing you and this and that, and you come to me like that, okay, yeah, you can go.
Right.
I'm not putting you out, but this is what you decide you want to do, but you're not going to run my household.
Right.
If it get to that point. And I love my kids, all of them, and I would never put them out, but if it came to that point where as though they thought they're going to come and run my household, yeah, they would have to go. Because I know parents now have their kids living with them 20, 22, 24, 20, and they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
And they're not going to let them go until they know they're right. But then you got the other ones, it's like, well, like you said, you go ahead and get out, you 18 and this and that.
Figure it out.
You figure it out. And it's always good to know that there are some parents out there that willing to make sure they're not going to put them out until they're ready.
Right.
You know, I know a young lady. Well, she's not young. She's much older than me. Her son lived with her until he was 55 years old. Every day he passed, but he stayed there. I think he had one apartment, and he came back home. And he said, "Ma, I can't do it. Stay with her." You know, but these kids can, push you to a point where as though you want to do it, but then you have to think. Then it comes to you later. Your conscience eats you up because when they're not there at night, you sit in the bed wondering where they at.
Right.
Then you hear something on the radio phone. Every time the phone rings, you're thinking something, so.
Right.
That's where that village come in at. That's what you got to have those outlets at. Cordell, I can use Cordell for example, because if his mother knew, if she knew 9 times out of 10, Cordell bus was late from the Y, for instance, and somebody wasn't at the school on time, and the school called her, Cordell's still here. 9 times out of 10, she ain't gonna say, she not gonna panic. She knows somebody from the Y going to get them. They just running behind. She ain't even gonna call the Y because she knew that's how we were.
Right.
Oh, I ain't even got to worry about Mr. Ed or Mr. Fitcher. Somebody, or Mrs. Skin or Miss King or Miss Vanessa, one of them will go down and get them. They're coming. She gonna tell the school that. But you got other people, they'll be like, I don't know, they'll blow it. But that's how comfortable she was with us with, raising Cordell at the Y.
And already told them that before they even called my mama. They coming, they just running late. Well, we just want to make sure. They coming. See, told you.
Bust me right out.
Get them out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, black, as a people, like we have this toxic thinking about always being independent. Instead of not counting on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Not believing in unity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like when I tell you I seen it. Like when I was working that labor ready, when I was doing different tip jobs and I was going places. We went to a site and when I tell you all them Spanish people left. They wasn't doing right by them and whatever, they left. Left with the machine still on, Vic. They left. I'm trying to tell you, we got on the site, we started doing what we had to do, and when I tell you, all I heard was whoop, the little whistle, whoop. I can't do that. Whoop, whoop. Man, they and got up out of there, Vic. They got up out of there, Vic. Next day, me going back on there.
Yeah.
They all was there. And I'm like, what happened? They was like, they raised our pay. That's all we wanted. That was the next day.
Mm-hmm. Why we can't do that? Why we can't do that? And that's what I was saying as far as these school districts, right? They can easily find these drivers.
Of course. They don't got a lot of people like us. What you call them? Vanilla shakes? Vanilla shakes? They got a lot of vanilla shakes up there that's not thinking about what Mr. Ed said.
Right.
How that small factor of the buses can affect the community like that. And you're not giving no incentives. You know what I'm saying? No nothing. That thing is just supposed to fix itself. And then you seeing what's crazy is the fact that you saying that. All this craziness this youth doing in the DMV right now. Exactly. It's correlating.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But this is chocolate milkshake issues.
Right.
So only people who chocolate gonna understand that.
Right.
Vanilla like what? Like I don't know what's going on in here. Buses, we got cars. You know what I'm saying? Like they not thinking about that. They not thinking about that because they don't relate to it. If you're not going, if you don't relate to it, you're not gonna think about it out of sight, out of mind. You ain't gonna think about it till somebody tell you. And then you tell you, you're not gonna really.
But see,
it's not gonna hit hard because you don't know nothing.
And part of the problem also is the people that are in charge of making these decisions. They're not us.
Exactly.
So for them to get this stuff in place and pass, it's difficult because they're not in our shoes.
Exactly. And you know what else make it more difficult? When you got everybody else who willing to stand for the line for a chicken sandwich for 2 hours, but don't go down to your local court and vote for different stuff they putting in, Vic. They don't do that.
Yeah.
And then they would sign this law, and they be like, who agreed to that? You didn't disagree with it, because why? Because you ain't go vote. Because you ain't waiting in line. You ain't in line for that chicken sandwich. You ain't in line for them new 993s. But you ain't waiting in line for that. But you mad because this happened. But you could have avoided that. If you went down to vote and you told everybody to come vote. That's why little things in the community happen like this. Because we don't go down to our local branch and vote. Not just when people say vote, we're not talking about just the presidency. There's other stuff to vote for.
President don't hold no power.
It's our local authorities that hold the power.
Right.
Because that's gonna really affect us.
Yeah.
Your community, where you live at. But you mad.
And we got.
Don't be mad, stand. Go down there and vote.
And we gotta do our research on whoever's running. It's not a red and blue thing. It's who. Here's my thing, right?
Who's the best person for the job?
Who's the best person for the job?
Who's the best person for the job?
Because I don't see red and blue no more.
No.
Because
at this point I don't.
At this point I don't, because
they both corrupted in some ways.
The most important thing I'm concerned with, how are you going to help us as a people? If you are pushing an agenda that's going to help black people, I'm for you. I don't care who you are. But if you're not talking about anything that's going to affect us for the better, then I don't want nothing to do with you.
Facts.
Period. Right. I don't care who you are. So, that's my stance on it. But it's like you said, Scoop. It's crucial that people do their research, that they go out and vote. But like you said, we stand in line for all the wrong things, right?
Them answer yes for this, or them little questions they be asking. Those are really important.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then you just wondering what's going on. Come on now.
And those questions they ask you, if you haven't vetted those people and done your research, you're taking a test blind. Yeah.
Right. You flipping a coin at that point.
Right.
You flipping the coin at that point. I didn't think it was that fast. I didn't think we went through that hour that fast.
Yeah.
Hey, man, when you're having a good conversation, man, time flies. Mr. Ed, you got any closing remarks for everyone?
Well, you know what I can say, pretty much, and this is something, my grandmother always told us, treat people the way you want to be treated. Lend a hand.
Yes, sir.
Help as much as you can. Because, like I said, you never know who's out there needing help. And if you don't know a question, if you don't know the answer to a question, always feel free to ask. Because if you don't ask, people don't read minds. People can't tell what's going on with you.
Right.
Unless you act out. And sometimes when you act out, that's not always the good one.
Right.
It may be a bad situation. But treat people the way you want to be treated. And stay prayed up.
You have any social media or anything that people can reach you at?
Well, I don't have social media. And
okay.
Unfortunately, I'm not on social media, but I do have email addresses that I can give you. And that's Robinson.
Pure old head.
Robinson.edward94@yahoo.com.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Ed, we appreciate you for coming on, man.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. It's definitely been a pleasure.
Man, appreciate you, Mr. Ed.
Sir.
For real. Yes, sir.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in to the show. This is Spade of Spades Podcast. Y'all have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Y'all
Shout out to Kyler Maris YMCA.
That's right.
Y'all be safe out in the streets. Have a good weekend. We out. Peace.